Hey there, friends and enemies, Jopa here again, and the Thing has quickly become my favorite new character in Marvel Rivals. Now, I have been a Vanguard main since the game has launched, primarily using Doctor Strange, Magneto, or Penny Parker, and I just didn't really vibe with any of the dive tanks so far, so I was looking for another frontline option who I could be a little bit more aggressive with, a brawl tank just like the Thing. And the other major issue that I had is I didn't really vibe as much with Mr. Fantastic or Invisible Woman either. And so these new characters, while they were great, just weren't for me. And so I'm glad we have the Thing as a really good option. I was actually able to get MVP my first game using him in competitive, and it was just a lot of fun. I think he's a type of character that is very enjoyable to use. He's not overly difficult. He's only a 1 star, but he does feel like he is going to be a little bit harder to master. I wasn't using his embattled leap, for example, aggressively enough, using it to get in and out of danger when necessary. I also hadn't mastered his Yancey Street Charge simply because it feels a little wonky as you're moving around with it at times. So getting it so you can slam enemies consistently is a little bit of a problem. I also think the Thing is going to be a character who is not really all that great against certain team compositions. For example, he cannot hit flyers. He really struggles against a Penny Parker if you are playing into them on defense, if you don't have somebody else taking out the nest. There's a lot of examples like that can be a little bit of a problem, so I do feel like he's going to be situational. However, he is very fun to use, as I mentioned earlier. He can pretty much just knock enemies up and around. He doesn't get grappled by Winter Soldier or anything like that, so he can't get relocated by any of those moves. He also does struggle a little bit against a Squirrel Girl because he can get captured by her nuts, but he also has a really big hitbox, so she has an easy target to hit with him as well. So just keep that in mind when you're playing into and against certain team compositions, because he is going to be a little bit more situational because of that, unless you have another tank next to you like a Magneto who can shield you, keep you alive, and all that kind of good stuff as well. But anyway, as far as what I enjoy the most about him is simply throwing hands. He has his stone haymaker, which he can pretty much use endlessly. There's no real cooldown on it, so you can just kind of spam. I saw somebody who I was playing against essentially just use that constantly. Like, they never threw regular punches, regular Rocky jabs, which I don't recommend, but I did think that was very, very funny. He also has his Yancey Street Charge. This is one thing that I think you should be using quite often, mostly because he does get the overshield when he uses this initially to get up to 900 health, which is kind of insane, and he can run around and then slam enemies up in the air. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but essentially you're going to use it to try to pop up enemies and then use your jab slash Stone Haymaker as well in order to try to finish them off. It's actually pretty effective, especially against some of the healers who don't have a way to get out of that. So an Adam Warlock, for example, or even an Invisible Woman who you run against, like if they're not using their dodge to get away, you can essentially almost one-shot combo them with that attack, which is very, very fun in my opinion. He also has, like I said, the Embattled Leap. This is going to jump towards your ally and apply damage reduction to both of you. So this is similar to what you see with Mr. Fantastic, only instead of giving a shield, you get damage reduction, so you're not going to take as much damage, and it doesn't look like a shield on your health bar. So just keep that in mind. It's one that I didn't use often enough when I was playing, and I probably could have kept me alive a bit more, but it is something to use pretty consistently. Like I said, he also is immune to launch up, knockback, and other displacement effects with his passive. His ultimate, Clobbering Time, does take a little bit of practice to use because while it does knock enemies up in the air and it stuns them for a little bit. You don't want to use it too far away because you want to essentially be in a position to capitalize on it right away. You'll see in some of the gameplay, the enemy team comes through the portal and I'm able to clobbering time them as they jump through, and they were pretty much easy pickings for me to just start swinging on. So it was very effective there, and it's something that I think is easy to use when enemies are in a confined space. But if they're able to avoid it, if they're able to spread out, if they're able to fly away from it, it is not going to be the most useful. So situationally, it is a good ultimate. You just have to be able to capitalize on it for sure. Now, one of the interesting things is that he does have the Fantastic Four team up, which I don't think was mentioned before launch, but he gets a shield essentially just like Mr. Fantastic did if he's paired with the Invisible Woman. So definitely a good combination. It also makes it so a full team up of Invisible Woman, Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, and the Thing is absolutely viable and could be pretty decent. Mr. Fantastic is not the most impressive character. He's not an S tier character right now, and I don't think he's the best to use at all times, but especially in lower to mid ranks, he can be very annoying. He can protect the backline with the bonus to the cooperative comrades. He can be pretty high survivability character. So while you are playing the Thing as your frontline tank, creating space, you can use him as an off-tank type, even though he's not really a Vanguard Mr. Fantastic. Then you would obviously have Human Torch, who can do insane damage, and again, would also have that team up. Now, the Thing also has the Cosmic Fastball, or the Fastball Special team up with Wolverine, which is, again, fun, a little bit trolly, not the best, but it does add something if you're playing with a Wolverine and you want to throw him into a position that can take advantage of the enemy. So that's the full kit. I just wanted to break that down a little bit. As far as the gameplay style goes, you essentially want to be pressuring the enemies at all times because you only have melee attacks, whether it's your charge, whether it's your fists, whatever the case may be. You want to push the enemy back and try to get in their face. So you have to rely a bit more on your healers because of that. You don't have a tank, but you do want to be able to use your charge consistently to get into the enemy backline, but also into their front line and disrupt it a little bit. If they're not running the Thing on the other team, you can actually pop up the enemy vanguards as well and try to slow them down that way. But you want to get that overshield and then get back into cover, because once it ends, you do lose that overshield pretty quickly, and so you don't want to be running around in the back line. You then lose the overshield, you've taken a bunch of damage, and that's how you die. And that's something that I learned the hard way, is he's a frontline brawler, really good, especially if they're pushing choke points, but he can get isolated very easily if you are not careful, and so he will struggle at times if you are not used to using it. Again, Embattled Leap will help you get back to your team and then give you that damage reduction to also hopefully survive. And the low cooldowns on the Yancey Street Charge, Embattled Leap, and Stone Haymaker are really, really nice because you can use them very consistently. Now, last but not least, I do want to say that I don't know if he's going to be the most meta tank, especially if you are somebody who ends up solo vanguarding a lot, just because not having that shield can be a bit of an issue. However, now that we don't have Doctor Strange with as much health, I still think Magneto is incredibly good, but Doctor Strange might drop just a little bit, and so there will be a little bit more viability among all the tanks and the vanguards. So we'll see maybe Groot, maybe the Thing, and hopefully a wide range of vanguards in the games from now on. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about the Thing so far. Let me know what you think about the gameplay, all that we've learned, and all that kind of good stuff. My name is JoPa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.